For spine-chilling true Uber horror stories revealed, sinister secrets of cursed rides exposed, the night hummed with an electric tension. Jenna clutched the steering wheel of her aging Honda, eyes darting around the cul-de-sac bathed in the flickering light of street lamps. For spine-chilling true Uber horror stories revealed, sinister secrets of cursed rides exposed. The words played on repeat in her mind, turning her nerves into a waking nightmare. She was alone with her thoughts, the echoes of her husband's disappearance hovering like a dark cloud. The comfort of suburban life felt like a fragile facade, ready to shatter at any moment. Her first passenger of the night slid into the back seat, his face hidden beneath the harsh glare of the dashboard light. "You ever hear about the driver who vanished?" he asked, voice low and eerie. "No trace, just gone." An icy shiver crawled down Jenna's spine, but she forced a laugh. "Nice try, buddy. I've got a kid at home who keeps me up at night," she replied, trying to keep the mood light. "Yeah, but what about the one who picked up a guy with no face?" he continued, eyes glinting. The driver drove to his destination, and when he glanced in the rearview, nothing there. Just an empty seat. He leaned forward, as if sharing a secret. And the police? They didn't even believe him till the next driver went missing too. Jenna's heart raced, laughter turned to dread as she suddenly felt the weight of her own history looming in. With each ride she completed, the man's stories unfurled like vivid dreams laced with dark truths. Shadows loomed larger around her family home, creeping closer with each passing night. She noticed the figure lurking along her edge of her property more frequently, always just out of sight, always watching. Panic tightened her throat until breathing became a chore. In a neighborhood where children chased butterflies, Jenna now felt like a prisoner, trapped in her own skin. Her home, a once cozy haven, felt like a hunting ground. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then something awful happened. Her son, Sam, just 4 years old, vanished without a trace. One moment, he was waiting on the porch for his ride to a friend's house, the next, he was gone. The screams flew from her lips, breaking the quiet night like glass shattering. Neighbors who once smiled at Jenna now looked through glassy eyes, discomfort rippling beneath their friendly grins. "Help! Sam!" Desperation clawed at her insides as she ran through the familiar streets, the shadows now dancing mockingly around her. Her mind raced, imagining the faces that concealed secrets darker than the glossy paint of their cookie-cutter homes. Each corner she turned felt like unwinding a knot of dread, every whispered tale resurfacing like a tide of memories from her husband's disappearance. Was there a connection? Was there something she missed in all those terrifying tales? The chill of night wrapped around her like the frigid grip of fear. Jenna's heart hammered in her chest, spurred by the frantic cries for her son. She could feel it. This time the horror wasn't just a story, it was real, and it was lurking right outside her door. With each breath she took, she felt the abyss of terror closing in, demanding to know, could her family be the next ghost story among those sinister secrets? Jenna's blood ran cold as she stumbled through the familiar streets of her neighborhood, each step echoing her growing panic. "Sam! Where are you?" The night air felt thick, suffocating, as shadows twisted into unseen figures that whispered her son's name in a chilling chorus. She could almost hear them mocking her. The lights from nearby houses glowed like distant stars, but they offered no comfort. Instead, they cast long, crawling darkness, swallowing her silent pleas. The laughter of children once filled this space, but now, all she could hear were her own desperate breaths, the pounding of her heart, and the increasing thrum of fear. Her mind spiraled. Was it her fault? Had she ignored the warnings? The old tales of missing children, the urban legends whispered in hushed tones at neighborhood barbecues? The driver who picked up the faceless man, did that tale bury some truth? As the memories flooded back, dread coiled tighter around her. Jenna turned a corner sharply and saw the faint outline of her neighbor, Mr. Thompson, standing on his porch. Relief washed over her momentarily, until she noticed the way he was staring, eyes wide, mouth set in a grim line. She approached him, heart racing. "Have you seen Sam? Please tell me you have." His face went pale, almost the color of the moon looking down on them. Jenna, his voice trembled, eyes darting past her shoulder as if he sensed something behind her, lurking just out of sight. "Sam is missing. He was just what's wrong?" Jenna demanded, spinning around to find nothing there, only the suffocating darkness, thick and unsettling. The chilling realization crept over her like ice. This wasn't just a search, this was a confrontation with whatever darkness had claimed her family. "Jenna, we should call the police," Mr. Thompson suggested, his voice shaky. The suggestion stung. She hated the idea of involving anyone else. Wouldn't they just dismiss her fears like before? There's no time for that. He could be anywhere. Panic bubbled beneath her skin, threatening to consume her as another thought gripped her. Were they even looking for him? Without thinking, she ran back toward the house, her footsteps echoing with an urgency fueled by fear. She burst into her front yard, eyes locked on every shadow, every movement. A flicker of movement caught her eye at the corner of the house. "Sam!" She called out, nearly tripping as she charged toward it. The shadows shifted, the night closing in tighter around her as she rounded the corner, breathless with hope only to find a single shoe lying in the grass, untouched. A sense of dread engulfed her completely. What had taken him? Her hands trembled as she picked it up. Was this a sick game? The feeling of being watched flooded back, heavier now. The figure that had lingered at the edge of her property every night, what if it was no longer there? Suddenly, the air shifted. A dark figure stood under the street lamp, just outside the beam of light, watching her intently. Jenna squinted, heart pounding in her chest. Could it be? She felt the ground shift beneath her, a mix of fear and desperation gripped her. "Who are you?" she shouted, voice trembling but fierce. But the figure remained silent, unmoving, a grotesque anticipation wrapped around it like a shroud. In that moment, time froze. As Jenna took a step closer, she could feel the weight of something sinister. Was it evil? Or simply the truth she feared to face? And then it spoke, a voice like gravel scraping against glass. "Are you ready to play?" With those chilling words, a shiver traveled down her spine. That wasn't the game she wanted to join. As the figure stepped closer, the shadows behind it seemed to ripple dangerously, dragging her deeper into a nightmare she never wished to live. The question loomed heavy in the air: would she abandon hope or confront this terrifying dark presence for the sake of her son? But as the figure stretched a hand toward her, the choice felt more like a noose tightening around her, threatening to pull her into the abyss. What horrors awaited her? Lurking beneath the surface of their so-called suburban paradise. Jenna took a breath, life clawing at the edges of her sanity. She needed to make a decision, and fast. And with that, the night deepened further, and Jenna wondered what other truths slept just beneath the facade of her perfect neighborhood. Jenna's heart raced as the figure stepped closer, the street lamp's glow flickering. Her head spun. It was just a game. Just words. She gripped the shoe tighter, nails digging into the fabric, feeling the adrenaline surge through her. "Get away from me!" she shouted, backing away, her voice cracking, but the figure didn't move. It stood there, cloaked in darkness, with an aura that seemed to warp the air around it. The shadows danced and flickered, twisting into grotesque shapes that sent chill after chill down her spine. She felt the desperation crawl under her skin. Was anyone else awake? Did they sense the terror she was facing? "Your boy is so close." The voice creaked like an old door swinging on rusty hinges. "He wants to play too." Jenna felt the world tilt. "What do you want?" She tried to hold her ground, but felt the weight of fear pulling her deeper into the night. Just a simple game. One life for another. Its eyes glinted in the shadow, reflecting something dark and hungry. A flash of rage ignited within her. "You think I'll give you anything?" But her voice wavered, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. The thought of Sam, alone and frightened, clawed at her insides. The figure tilted its head, an eerie semblance of curiosity. "But you've already lost him." It gestured with a long, bony finger toward the house. "He's waiting for you, Jenna, but what if it's too late?" She glanced desperately back at her home, where the darkness pooled at the edges of her yard like a beast waiting to pounce. Was Sam inside? Or was he somewhere far worse? Her instincts screamed for her to run inside, but her feet felt stuck, anchored in fear. "Don't you want to save him?" The voice softened, more inviting now, wrapping around her like silk. "You've heard the whispers. You know they won't look for him. They never do." Jenna swallowed, her throat dry. The loss of hope was palpable. What if she couldn't save him? What if Sam was out there, calling her, but too scared to speak? It didn't matter if she found the courage to face this thing in front of her. What if Sam was already lost to the darkness? "No. I won't do it," Jenna shouted, bursting with defiance in spite of the tremor that ran through her. "Then we play." The figure lunged forward, a swift movement that sliced through the air. Jenna barely had time to react. She ducked, the shadow brushing past her and melding into the ground as she stumbled backward. Panic propelled her, and she whirled around, sprinting toward her front door. As her hand reached the handle, darkness swirled at her feet, thick and suffocating. She could feel it, wrapping around her ankles, yanking her backward. She gasped, pulling hard against the force, but it was relentless. The whispered taunts crawled beneath her skin, mesmerizing, enticing, promising freedom if she only gave in. "Jenna!" Her heart jolted. A familiar voice echoed from inside the house. "Help me!" It was Sam. A fierce wave of determination crashed over her. She whipped around, staring into the writhing shadows. "Let him go!" She screamed, cutting through the night with the raw power of a mother's anguish, but the entity only chuckled, low and menacing. "Choice and consequence, they're all the same in the end. Will you choose to join him? Or will you lose everything?" The air grew thick with unspoken threats, and Jenna felt reality unraveled around her. She took a deep breath, her fists clenched at her sides, ready for the fight. But even as she steeled herself, uncertainty clawed at her. Was Sam even inside? Did the game begin the moment she stepped into the house? And if she opened that door, what piece of her soul would she lose in the process? The whispers intensified, a symphony of deceit luring her to join their chant. The question loomed in her mind, heavy and oppressive: if she faced this horror head-on, what darkness would it unleash upon her family? Time seemed to freeze, and as she took one final glance at the encroaching shadows, Jenna knew she had to make a choice, but the price was unknown. What awaited her beyond that door? And more importantly, what would it cost her to find out? The door loomed in front of her, a portal of both dread and desperate hope. Jenna's fingers trembled as they brushed against the cold handle. Would everything change if she crossed the threshold? The shadows had grown thicker, swirling like a living entity around her feet, beckoning her with a tender, cruel caress. "Sam!" Her voice cracked, betraying her growing sense of panic. What if he was wrong? What if the whispers were just lies meant to manipulate her to step inside? But then again, what if he was right? The voice was clearer now, each syllable laced with fear. "Mom, please. I need you." She inhaled sharply, determination surging through her veins. She was a mother. She couldn't abandon her child to this nightmare. The figure in the distance seemed to sense her resolve, its crooked smile widening impossibly. "Such loyalty," it jeered, its voice dripping with mockery. "But loyalty won't save you. Once you pass that door, your reality will fragment." Jenna felt her knees weaken. "What do you mean?" The shadows flicked around her like flames, intensifying the cold that wrapped around her heart. You will lose everything you thought you knew. The game transcends mere life and death. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears, and with trembling fingers, she gripped the door handle. The whispers swelled, urging her to stay away, to turn back, while her love for Sam screamed for her to push through. Gritting her teeth, Jenna twisted the handle and flung the door open. The hallway beyond was cloaked in darkness, a tunnel to the unknown. The air was heavy with a stale, musty scent, and remnants of a cold breeze snuck past her, almost as if the house itself exhaled a warning. Sam! She shouted again, stepping inside. Help! His voice came stronger now, a sob wrapped in desperation that reverberated through the shadowed expanse. The sound clawed at Jenna's heart, urging her deeper into the house, past the threshold where reality bent and fractured. Each step echoed ominously, reverberating through the stillness. As she navigated the twisted hallway, shadows pulsed like living breath, curling at the edges of her vision. They reached toward her, brushing against her skin with icy fingers, whispering sweet lies of safety, promising she could escape if only she turned back. No! Get away! She shouted, thrashing at the night, but her words fell to the floor like stones dropping in a deep well, no echo, no return. The house seemed to swallow her voice, leaving her with nothing but silence and the crackling tension of the shadows that cocooned her. They shifted, coiling tighter around her, their whispers morphing into a symphonic chant that distorted her thoughts. One for another, stop it! Jenna cried, grasping her head as confusion swirled in her mind. With every word, the space around her twisted, the walls bending and stretching unnaturally, as if the house itself was alive, taunting her. Where are you? She called out, panic flooding her senses. She shuffled farther, no longer knowing if she was going in circles. Sam! Mom! He was closer now, just ahead, but the way was obscured by a thick, swirling darkness that pulsed like a heartbeat. Every ounce of her being screamed to rescue him, but fear clung to her skin, making her hesitate, and that when she saw it, a flicker of light breaking through the shadows, illuminating a doorway. But darkness swelled from the ground, eager to pull her back, to drag her into the landscape of dread. No! She shouted into the void behind her, her breath hitching in her throat. I want to lose him. With a burst of courage, Jenna lunged toward the light. It beckoned her forward, illuminating her shaking hands, but the shadows roared in protest. Just as she reached out to grasp the light, everything went black. What had she just stumbled into? Was this the door to salvation, or had she just sealed her fate forever? The impending horror washed over her. The whispers were louder now, more frenzied as the darkness pushed against her. And within the chaos, a singular thought screamed through her mind, what price for? The truth awaited beyond that light. Jenna's senses flared to life as the suffocating blackness dissolved, giving way to a stark white glare that left her momentarily blinded. She blinked, forcing the world back into focus. Terrified, she staggered back, expecting to see the demons of the dark swirling behind her. But there was no darkness here. Instead, she found herself standing in a small, sterile room. Bright fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, illuminating the stark white walls and the unyielding floor beneath her feet. It smelled of antiseptic and something she couldn't quite place, something sinister. The air stung her lungs, and her heart raced with confusion. Mom! Sam's voice echoed from somewhere nearby, small and frightened. She whipped around, eyes darting, but the tiny room revealed no clue of his whereabouts. Just the endless white walls that felt like they were closing in. Sam! Where are you? Jenna's voice cracked, urgency pushing her forward. Before she could move, a metallic clang rang out, and a door she hadn't noticed flew open across the room. A figure emerged from the shadows, silhouetted against the stark light. It was a woman dressed in a long, white hospital gown, her face obscured by unkempt hair. Help him, the woman murmured, her voice a hollow echo in the sterile space. He's in the loop. Who are you? Where's my son? Jenna's pulse quickened, panic igniting her senses as she stepped closer. The woman's eyes widened, glowing with a painful brightness. You shouldn't be here. The exchange her voice drifted off, filled with dread. He doesn't belong here. Sam! Jenna cried out, taking a step forward, desperate to breach the growing chasm of fear. Tell me where he is. The woman pointed shakily toward the door she had just come through, her expression twisting with pity and horror. You can't save him, but you can save yourself. Jenna's breath quickened as the shadows rushed back, swirling around her feet, whispering again, one for another surrender to the cycle. No. Get away. She barked, fiercely trying to shake off the encroaching darkness. I want to leave my son. Where are you, Sam? With renewed determination, Jenna dashed towards the door, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Her heart hammered in her chest. Just outside that door lurked whatever awaited the truth, the horror, the salvation, but as she reached for it, a piercing scream erupted from within the room, drowning out the whispers. It was her son. Mom! He was there, behind the door. The desperation in his voice made her blood run cold. Hold on, Sam. I'm coming. She flung open the door, stepping into a corridor shrouded in a dense fog that clutched at her like icy fingers. Don't look back. The woman's scream echoed behind her, but Jenna pushed on, her breath coming in rapid bursts. The fog twisted around her, drawing in tight like a vice. She could feel something watching her. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, yet the pit of her stomach felt like it was being drawn into a vortex. Mom! Please! Sam's voice faded, replaced by an unsettling silence that clawed at her chest. She ran faster, fueled by fear and love, then, she saw it a faint glow through the choking fog. It pulsed rhythmically, luring her deeper. Was this the way to her son? Or was it just another trick, another layer of the nightmare? A gnarled laughter rose above the stillness, echoing around her. One must be sacrificed. Jenna's heart sank. The haunting realization weighed heavy as she approached the light. What did it mean? What cost would she pay to rescue her son? Her feet faltered just before reaching the source, and the shadows surged forward, hungry and relentless. Panic gripped her as a voice whispered, dark and silky, to know the truth is to bear the weight of darkness. And then, the light flickered ominously, revealing a figure standing within, just beyond her grasp. Was he on the other side? Or was this yet another cruel twist? Time hung suspended in the air. As she stood there, fear coiling tighter. A choice loomed ahead, a choice that would shatter everything. What would Jenna do? Would she risk it? All for a flicker of hope, or was it too late for her to save Sam? Jenna hesitated, heart pounding, eyes darting between the flickering light and the approaching shadows. A voice surged within her, fierce and demanding. This is not the end. I will not give up. Steeling herself, she took a step toward the light, instinct urging her forward. The figure within began to take shape, a boy, small and fragile. Sam! His wide eyes glistened with fear that mirrored her own. Mom, help me! He cried, reaching out. But the shadows swirled thicker, crawling up her legs and clutching at her waist. She could feel their icy tendrils squeezing, feeding off her growing terror. Each pulse of the light drew in her breath, as if the air itself was tightening around her throat. Wait! The cold voice echoed from behind. You know what you need to do. Jenna closed her eyes tight, trying to drown out the hypnotic glow. No! She shouted against the darkness, battling the weight pushing her down. She wouldn't leave him. I want to let you take him. But the light surged, brightening as the shadows hissed, hungry for her spirit. One for another. Their whispers blended into a cacophony, spinning webs around her mind. Mom! Sam's voice strained against the mounting chaos, desperation seeping through. Please! Don't let them take me. She could almost touch Sam now, the barrier between them flickering like a candle fighting against the storm. She had to act. Time felt crushed, the moment threatening to break under pressure. Sam! Hold on. The words tore from her throat. With one final surge of strength, she lunged forward, arms outstretched. But the shadows lunged too, pulling her back with a sinister grip. Jenna screamed, twisting wildly. Panic surged through her like a wildfire, hotter and more consuming than anything she'd ever felt. No. I'm coming. As her fingertips brushed against a warm surface, the fleeting sensation of Sam's hand, her body jolted. With a frantic kick, she broke free from the darkness, stumbling forward with an unyielding determination that filled every fiber of her being. But just a heartbeat too late. The light dimmed as she crossed the threshold. The figure inside disappeared. Sam! She cried, desperation spilling from her lips. The shadows roared in triumph, swallowing the void, and everything fell utterly silent. Jenna stood frozen, the realization washing over her like a cold wave. What just happened? From the depths of the shadows, a whisper slid by. One must take their place. I want to be your pawn. Her breath came out in jagged gasps. The room shifted, walls shifting like a living organism. Before her, doors materialized, and each bore names she recognized. Sam. Jenna. Fingers crept through the fog behind her. They wrapped around her arm, cool and demanding, tugging her away from the choices before her. Please, come back. Yet just as she thought she could see Sam again, the world around her trembled violently. Choose. The shadow hissed, its voice morphing into something far more sinister. Choose. She repeated, heart racing with dread. Choose what? Laughter erupted around her, echoing in a festival of horror, drowning out her thoughts. One must be sacrificed at that moment. Something deep inside Jenna settled. Fear gave way to resolve. She felt it, the bond with Sam igniting a fire she thought had burned out. Then take me. She shouted into the swirling mist. In that instant, the laughter stopped, turning to a sinister hiss. So be it. The walls began to pulse, vibrating with a dark energy that crackled like thunder. Jenna braced herself as darkness closed in, swallowing her whole. Yet, through that haze, Sam's voice reached her, faint but persistent. Mom. I'm still here. Don't let them take you. Despair clawed at her insides, but she surged forward into the chaos, ready to face whatever nightmare awaited, refusing to surrender. As her body twisted and warped around her, Jenna's heart thrummed with a question: what lay beyond this sacrifice? Would she discover Sam, or would they be forever lost in this twisted game of the damned? Jenna felt her body dissolve into the encroaching shadows. They wrapped around her limbs like serpents, slithering and pulling her into a realm of unspeakable fear. The suffocating darkness felt alive, pulsating, as if it fed on her dread. Her heart raced, each pump a resounding drum echoing in the eerie silence. Sam! She screamed, hoping her voice would reach him. I'm coming. But hope flickered like a dying bulb. The tangled mass of darkness responded with mocking laughter, his voice echoing from every corner. Next time, it'll be you who gets lost in the shadows. Jenna's resolve sharpened. She pushed against the darkness, feeling for the light which now felt impossibly distant. The laughter faded, leaving behind a suffocating quiet. In the silence, she sensed something else, a pulse, an energy shifting around her, rising from the depths. Focus. She thought. Find a way out. The choice lay before her like a grim reality. Two doors shivered into existence, one on her left labeled Sam, the other marked with her own name, Jenna. Mom! Sam's voice pierced the still air, desperate and trembling. Choose me. I can't choose one of us. Frantic tears pressed against her eyes, caught in the tide of her heart's longing and terror. I want to sacrifice you. The shadows tightened their grip, fingers of chilling darkness wrapping around her throat. One must pay, the whisper coiled around her, insidious and seductive. "It's the only way out, no." Jenna shouted, voice cracking. "I would rather be lost forever than trade him." Yet, as each second passed, the walls thrummed with urgency. It felt like a countdown, a weeping timer shackled to her soul, pulling her towards a final choice. She scanned the doors, desperate to find something she hadn't noticed. A crack, a gleam, the door marked Sam began to shimmer, pulsing with a flickering hope. But the door that bore her name was suffused with an ominous energy, dark tendrils snake-like slinking across the surface. It beckoned as whispers intensified, summoning her towards it. "Choose. Choose." The air crackled, built up with a tension that felt ready to snap. Her mind reeled, heart pounding thunderously. What about us? There's got to be. The shadowy edges coalesced, and instantly, she was thrust into a vision. She saw Sam, his small figure cowering in a dark abyss. Shadows circled him, their claws gleaming, thirsting for innocence. Jenna gasped as dread coursed through every fiber. "Mom!" Sam cried, and Jenna felt it. His fear twisted deep inside her until she could barely breathe. It struck a chord of purity, a bond forged in love and desperation. "Enough!" she yelled, voice ringing out against the oppressive darkness. The walls vibrated. "I choose neither." In that moment, shockwaves rippled through the air. The entity behind the darkness screeched, anger brewing in awful tones. "Foolish!" it hissed, the voice now echoing with fiery rage. With renewed determination, Jenna stepped forward, planting her foot firmly between the doors. "If I have to be someone else's pawn, let it be my own." She pictured Sam, and it fueled her spirit like a wildfire. "Leave us be." Without warning, the shadows recoiled, a cacophony of rage manifesting. The walls began to fracture, fissures spiderwebbing across the surfaces. "Mom!" Sam's voice came again, but it felt distant, as if everything around her was warping. Jenna's grip on reality was slipping. The light flickered, brightening once more, fighting back the shadows in a desperate clash. A terrifying realization bloomed in her chest. What if this battle consumed them both? Through the chaos, a new door appeared, not marked but gleaming with ethereal light. Was it a way out or a trap? "Mom!" Sam's voice cut through, piercing her heart. "Please!" Jenna took a frantic step toward the glimmering door, her mind spinning as the shadows lunged and the laughter crescendoed. Was this her escape? Or a final test? "Hold on, Sam!" she shouted, racing forward, afraid of what lay beyond but desperate in her love. As she reached for the shimmering doorknob, a sudden chill swept over her. And beneath the echoes of laughter, a new voice whispered, "You know what you need to sacrifice." Jenna hesitated, heartbeat hammering. Could she truly embrace the unknown? Would this be her undoing or salvation? In that split second, the choice was clear. But what lay beyond that door could change everything. Jenna's fingers hovered inches from the doorknob, the icy air wrapping around her, dragging her deeper into uncertainty. Every instinct screamed at her to pull away, but a force beyond comprehension yanked at her resolve. The whispers grew louder, an unearthly choir, teasing out her deepest fears. "What are you willing to give?" Time splintered around her. Each fragment held the weight of eternity, suspended in the haunting mockery of shadows yearning to consume her. She felt trapped, a marionette tangled in frayed strings, caught between the pulsating light of hope and the suffocating embrace of despair. "Mom!" Sam's voice, now a mere echo, crackled like static in her mind, amplifying her racing heart. What came next felt like a nightmare pulling tighter, a sudden jolt, her body dragged back as the shadows coiled feverishly around her ankles. She stumbled, seeking balance, her breath hitching in her throat. "No!" she shouted, fighting against the dark tendrils that threatened to envelop her. "I refuse to let you take him." The shadows writhed, howling with rage, the laughter morphing into a cacophony of screams. The walls around her seemed to pulse, grotesque faces appearing within the dark cracks, mouths open wide in anguish. She squeezed her eyes shut. This had to be a dream, anything but reality. Suddenly, the door behind her slammed shut, the echo reverberating through the sphere of darkness. A flicker of panic flared within her. She was trapped. The shimmering door loomed larger, its light growing more vibrant, almost blinding. The shadows rushed toward it, a roiling mass ready to extinguish the glimmering hope. "Mom! Don't go! Please!" Desperation clawed at Jenna's heart. "Sam!" In that moment of terror, a realization struck. This was her chance, not just to save him, but to confront whatever entity controlled this nightmare. Trust and love surged like molten lava through her veins. If she stepped forward, past that shimmering doorway, perhaps they could escape together. But was she prepared to risk everything? Without thinking, Jenna lunged toward the door, ripping it open. Light burst forth, flooding the darkness, illuminating the swirling shadows that hissed and recoiled. As she stepped through, the blinding brilliance engulfed her, a maelstrom of warmth and despair merging into one. Jenna stumbled forward, landing hard on a cold, unforgiving floor. The room around her felt different, spacious yet claustrophobic. She blinked, her eyes struggling to adjust. Light flickered from a bulb overhead, casting long shadows. "Mom!" A frail, anxious voice echoed from the corner. Her heart swelled, recognizing Sam's voice, but the moment turned bitter as a chill settled over her. The air thickened, heavy with an unshakable dread. There he was, standing alone, a small figure silhouetted against the muted background. But something was off. His usual innocent eyes seemed hollow, each blink sending ripples of unease through her core. "Sam!" she cried out, rushing toward him. Yet, with each step, the atmosphere thickened, as malevolence seeped into the room. "Don't get too close." The warning hung in the air, barely a whisper, emanating from Sam. Her heart plummeted. "What do you mean, don't get too close?" "I'm here, I'm with you." But he just stared, his expression warped between fear and an overwhelming sorrow. The light flickered again, shadows clawing at the edges, threatening to spill into the safety she thought she had found. "What have you done?" The voice returned, dripping with malice. "You willingly stepped through without knowing the cost." Suddenly, the room twisted, walls bending and reshaping, ensnaring them both in an ever closer embrace. Jenna's breath caught, her mind racing. "What do you want?" The shadows congealed, swirling ominously above her, and the walls pulsed like a hesitant heartbeat, reflecting her own inner turmoil. The room felt alive, encroaching, threatening to draw her into an abyss from which there might be no return. As she realized her surroundings weren't what they appeared, the laughter returned, slithering in on the darkest corners of her mind. Could she protect Sam from this new darkness? Was escape merely an illusion? Something shifted in the shadows again, a creature forming, and she braced herself for the confrontation ahead. What price would they have to pay to truly escape? "Mom!" Sam screamed as the darkness loomed closer, teetering on the edge of obliteration. Time stopped. The question hung in the air, chilling her to the bone. What more would she have to sacrifice to save them both? And beyond the rising chaos, the shadows whispered, "You must choose." Jenna's heart thundered in her chest as the shadows twisted and churned above her. The tension crackled in the air, mingling with the weight of her dread. Sam was close, but everything felt dangerously distant. She instinctively reached out, but the pulsing walls seemed to guard him like a fortress, keeping her from getting any closer. "Mom, it's not safe!" Sam shouted, his voice quivering with fear. "We have to go." But where? Where could they go when every corner of this room felt hostile, every shadow a potential threat? Jenna turned, desperately scanning the dark corners, looking for a way out. Her throat constricted, she could feel the darkness press against her, like hands gripping her throat. "Why did you come here, Jenna?" The voice echoed around them, mocking her. "Your intentions were noble, but hope is often a cruel illusion." The shadows began to swirl faster, drawing closer, and she could see them forming shapes, grotesque and tantalizing. Faces emerged, twisted in agony, mouths stretching in silent screams. Jenna staggered back, nausea creeping into her gut. The weight of the situation settled in her bones. "I can't let go," she whispered, half to herself, half to the ominous presence looming over her. "I have to save him." "Then sacrifice your own hope." The voice rasped, a cruel challenge. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and a pulse of energy set her nerves on fire. Sam's frightened eyes watched her, pleading. Jenna's breath hitched. What would it take to save him? Would she have to barter her own soul? "Tell me what you want," she shouted, fighting against the fear gnawing at her. "I'll do anything." The shadows recoiled, then surged forward, their laughter rising in a chaotic crescendo that reverberated in her skull. "You know the price, Jenna. Are you ready to pay?" The walls shuddered, the room shifting like a distorted carnival funhouse. It felt like the pain of regret and fear was weaving tightly around her, squeezing until she could barely breathe. Unspeakable horrors lurked in the abyss beyond the shadows, whispering her name, clawing at her resolve. "Mom!" Sam's voice rang crystal clear, shattering through the chaos. She could see him, his small figure trembling, eyes wide with unspoken terror. "Please." Sam. Jenna's voice broke, each utterance a fragile thread. The darkness pulsed, somehow alive, and an overwhelming urge to save him surged. She had come this far. "You want him?" The voice hissed, a chilling echo that filled the air. "Then embrace the darkness, become what you fear the most." The offer hung heavy in the air, as tangible as the tendrils that danced around her. Perhaps taking on the malevolence wouldn't mean losing herself. Maybe it was the only way. "Maybe." "Mom, don't listen." Sam pleaded, his voice slicing through her thoughts like a knife. Jenna couldn't look away from his pleading gaze. Could she truly protect him by surrendering? Wouldn't that lead them both to destruction? The shadows lurked, tantalizing in their promises, but with each pulse, she felt Sam's fear resonate, anchoring her struggle. This isn't a choice. Jenna gasped, her world colliding into itself. "We can fight together." But the shadows laughed again, drawing tighter around her, blurring her perception of time and space. Fear twisted through her, urging her to move, to act, before they were consumed entirely. "Then choose, Jenna." The shadows taunted. "Your love will be your undoing or your salvation." The darkness seemed to tighten around her, constricting like a vice. A singular thought flashed through her mind, a choice that could lead to devastation or deliverance. Her heart raced. Was she strong enough? "Mom!" Sam cried, struggling against an unseen force, eyes gleaming with tears. "I'm scared." They were running out of time. If she was to make a choice, it had to be now, but as shadows blurred the edges of her vision, an unsettling clarity dawned on her. What if the darkness offered both a trap and a guide? The whispers grew, a symphony of torment and temptation. Embrace the inevitable, the question loomed. Could salvation lie within the very depths of despair? "Jenna!" Sam screamed again, and with that, a rush of urgency propelled her forward, desperate to reach him before it was too late. In that moment, grounded by a mix of love and instinct, Jenna had to confront the very essence of her fears. The question echoed silently in her soul, battling for supremacy: how far would she go to protect the one she loved? And in the depths of darkness, would their bond become a weapon or a weakness? As the shadows lunged, Jenna felt herself teeter on the precipice of something unfathomable, and the room lurched in response, a ravenous creature ready to consume them both. The choice was here: what would she sacrifice in the name of love? Jenna stood at the edge of impending chaos, staring into the swirling mass of shadows that threatened to breach her resolve. Sam's cries echoed in her mind, frantic and filled with dread. There was no time for hesitation. The figure of her son filled her heart, grounding her amidst the turmoil surrounding them. "Sam, I want to let you go," she shouted, her voice cracking against the pressure of the darkness. The shadows whispered and clawed, but Jenna's love burned brighter than their cruel intentions. She took a step forward, bold and unwavering. "Your choice, Jenna," the dark voice echoed, rich and garbled, reverberating through her bones. "Will it be light or will you embrace the darkness?" As if reading her mind, the shadows shifted, morphing into forms of those lost familiar faces, lost souls waiting for a savior. "You see. You cannot save them without consequence," it taunted, sinewy fingers writhing towards her. Somehow, she could feel the presence of the darkness slithering into her thoughts, staging an insidious invasion. "No!" she cried, shaking off their grasp, her mind racing. She thought of Sam, all the moments of laughter, kisses on scraped knees, and the joy of his innocent heart. "I'd trade my own soul to save him." The darkness trembled, snarling at her defiance. "Then so be it." The room seemed to explode into chaos, shadows swirling, threatening to completely consume her. With a surge of determination like a tidal wave, Jenna thrust her heart and soul into the struggle. She cast aside everything, the shame, the guilt, her doubts, and focused solely on Sam. "You can't have him." Her voice rang louder as her anger ignited like a flame, fueled by unconditional love. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, their grip loosening just enough for a spark of light to seep through the cracks. Jenna felt energy radiate from her chest, warming her skin. "Mom!" Sam's voice surged with newfound hope. "I believe in you." With every syllable pouring from her son's lips, colors exploded around her, illuminating their world. The darkness shrieked, twisting in agony, but Jenna pushed forward, determined to wield the light. It felt like a storm of purpose erupting in her veins. She felt every heartbeat, every bit of energy as tangible as the air she breathed. As the light enveloped her, shining with the brightness of 1,000 stars, she charged through the torment, reaching for her son. "Hold on, Sam. I'm coming." Igniting every ounce of love that existed between them, she propelled herself towards him, through the tempestuous shadows, blasting free of their suffocating embrace. The brilliant warmth surrounded Jenna with each step, shielding her as she raced toward the fading silhouette that was her son. "Mom! Help me!" With one final push, Jenna lunged, arms outstretched, calling out with the fierce love of a lioness defending her cub. The shadows writhed, howling with despair, recoiling as the light overwhelmed. Sam's figure sparkled brilliantly in contrast, so close yet so far. "Please!" he cried, eyes glistening with tears mirroring her own. "Just a little more!" she yelled, surging forward. And then, in a heartbeat, she broke through the remaining tendrils of darkness. In an explosion of light, Jenna enveloped Sam in her arms, her heart pounding against his small frame. They tumbled backward, thudding against the unforgiving floor as the shadows dissipated like smoke caught in a gust of wind. They lay there, breathless, clutching one another tightly, feeling the evil fade into nothingness. "Are we safe?" Sam asked, voice small and trembling. Jenna wiped the tears from her eyes and nodded. "Yes, baby. We're together. We made it." Relief washed over her, calming the storm inside. The darkness had been relentless, but their bond had prevailed. As the room changed around them, the stark white walls melted into soothing hues of soft pastel. Sam's laughter, bright and pure, rang through the air. Jenna squeezed her son tightly, a sense of warmth igniting within her. They were free, together at last. But the shadows lingered like a haunting memory, a reminder of everything that had happened, the darkness that could emerge again. Jenna's heart swelled with gratitude, knowing they had faced unimaginable fear, yet emerged more powerful, having conquered the sinister grip that once threatened to tear them apart. With a newfound understanding of love's profound strength, she felt the darkness retreat, held back by the light they had drawn together. Jenna realized they weren't just survivors, they were warriors of light, forever bonded, fear now replaced with courage. As they stepped forward, hand in hand, the path before them glimmered, welcoming them toward the new dawn that awaited. Together, they would heal, with the shadows kept at bay by the love that had saved them both, and in that moment, Jenna promised herself to always listen for whispers, not the shadows, but the real ones, the sweet sound of her son's laughter that would guide them home. Now, friends, if you enjoyed this thrilling conclusion and want more stories like this, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next mind-blowing video. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread the word. And don't just sit there, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your voice matters. Finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need a jolt of adrenaline right now. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans know how important it is to support the channel through these actions.